Hey, it's Samantha Hartley of the Profitable Joyful Consulting Podcast. This is the final episode of Season 7. This season, we've been talking about consulting insights, and I really struggled to choose what was going to be the last insight I would talk about. So I have a really good one for you today, but just so you know, I have saved up many, many more ideas for Season 8, which is filled with consulting ideas. So I'm really excited to continue there with you. I hope you'll join me there. And today's final episode is really one of the most insightful things somebody said to me. And I was really surprised because it was kind of a comment in passing by an old mentor that I worked with. And he said, organic posts become assets. So I'm going to unpack that for you over this episode, but I just thought it was the most compelling and captivating idea at the time. And I have really grown to believe it. Organic posts are just things that you post to social media, your blog, wherever you post it, but organic implies that it's not paid. So organic posts, let's not be limited with thinking that they're articles or text posts. It can be videos, it can be stories that you post, it can be cartoons, drawings, memes, graphic process maps, any kind of content whatsoever becomes assets in your business. You know, intellectual property is an asset, and your organic posts are really a form of your intellectual property. And so in a way, it was like, obviously they become assets, and they are assets, but to begin to think of them, especially the work that you're doing on an ongoing basis, when you're creating content, that you're actually creating something that is an asset, that inherently it has value just in and of itself. Like, that was a really mind-blowing idea for me, and it began to change my behavior, especially from this kind of like dread of like, oh my gosh, the effort that you have to put into content marketing, especially if you're doing something like daily posts or even like, 3 to 5 times a week. It's a lot of content generation, right? It's a lot of making videos, or it's a lot of creating content, whatever, writing, dang, this is a lot of writing, whatever that is. When I began to think of this as I'm generating a consistent body of work and consistent assets for my business, that was a real shift for me. So I'm going to share with a little more about that with you, because I hope that you will also take this away and begin to reconsider what you're doing with the content that you create in your business. Years ago, I had created a course, and when I went to write it, I was like, oof, I think I have written this before. And the course was on attracting clients to your business. And I made it with several lessons in it. And each of them was on a single topic, kind of like this podcast. And I looked back, and I had already written an issue of my newsletter on that topic, or I'd already written a blog post about it. And so when it came time to make this lesson, which was something that I sold, I would go back to organic content that I had created years before and pull it in, and wow, did that save me some work. And so I'd created an entire course from old organic posts. Now, they weren't old and outdated. They were just work that I had done before that I could easily bring into this course. I have done that with episodes of the podcast where I'm like, if I'm going to speak on this topic, I actually, like 10 years ago, wrote an article about that. So why don't I look back at what I wrote and then refresh it and update it with some new ideas, and then I can share it. And this is the beauty of these posts. When you pull content out of your head and you get it onto paper or onto video or wherever it's going to go, a few things happen. One is you go, oh, that's actually what I believe. I don't know that I've ever expressed that way before, but you kind of concretize your own ideas and your beliefs. And a lot of times, for the benefit of other people, you'll organize and structure it. So you're like, if it just kind of exists as this amorphous like mass in your brain, when you take it out of yourself and you create it into content, you might structure it with some like paragraphs or like bullet points, or maybe there's a 1 through 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of a system that you can put in place. So you can hear that takes this kind of intangible idea or maybe intuitive knowledge that you have, and it turns it into an asset. Why is it an asset? Because now it's helpful for other people. It's outside of you. And sometimes you can sell it, as I did with my course. That is one of the reasons why organic content becomes an asset. Another reason why is that it's building your brand. I think of organic content, and I've used this analogy before, as a bird seed. And you choose a particular kind of bird seed to get a particular kind of bird. So I recently learned that like millet on the ground attracts birds that won't eat things out of your feeder. And so if it's in your feeder, the ground feeding birds won't get to it. Oh, okay, great. Good information for me. Niger seed is what you want to do if you want to use if you want to attract finches to your feeder. Oh, okay, great. So there are specific types of bird seed that you'll put out to get specific types of birds. And that's exactly what we do with our content. You create content which is relevant specifically for your perfect clients. And I love for it to be irrelevant for everybody else. I want people to read it and be like, that isn't helpful at all, because they're the wrong client. It should repel the wrong clients. Ideally, they think something like, well, that was probably well written, but not relevant to me. For your perfect clients, when they find your content, they are going to devour it. It's going to be the most interesting and compelling thing that they've ever read. So that is an amazing use of this organic content, is putting it in front of potential clients and having them gravitate to it as that audience builds. You are building a brand with your content. You're building a brand, and that means a unique business identity in the minds of those perfect clients. So as they're reading about you, they're learning, like, why do I need this person, and what might she help me with, and what are all of the ways that she could help, and what's unique to her. So I think of a brand as like a big mosaic, and all of these individual tiles are aspects of or components of your brand. So when you write posts, imagine you can write on every single tile that's in that mosaic. So I can write about the problems of my perfect clients, how I help them, what's unique, my story, experiences I've had, case studies of other perfect clients, etc., etc. So all of that whole mosaic full of tiles is adds up to become your brand or your unique business identity. And that's the thing that people begin to know you for. If they just read one article, they just get a little tiny impression of you. But if you can get them to create, to read and consume all of your content, then they get a more and more of a complete impression of you, which is why I have another coach who says readers become buyers. People who consume a lot of your content, if you ever notice, when they come into a discovery call with you, they're like, quoting you back to yourself. So that's a great way for those organic posts to have been an asset. They are converting or predisposing your potential clients to converting and to working with you. These are more and more reasons why organic posts are assets and why you want to work with them. So I've described that they're posts and videos and all those kinds of things. What I haven't talked about yet is how I want you to use them. So you're going to be creating this content and posting it wherever you choose, like wherever your perfect clients are looking for information from you. That could be on a blog. People may find their way back to your blog, but more often that's going to be on a social medium where they are, like LinkedIn, sometimes Facebook, sometimes Instagram, etc. So when you put that content there, especially the key thing that I want you to do is to track it. So keep a record of all that content. If you're not keeping track of it, then you're going to have a bunch of stuff that you wrote and put out there, and there's no record that you have of that. So I know a lot of people who, for example, violated some rule, got their Facebook account deleted, and then all those posts that were out there, they've lost that content. So they composed it on Facebook itself, and then when that went away, they lost everything. So first of all, back up all your accounts. There's ways that you can download everything. And in addition, you can create a simple tracking system. In my business, I have an assistant who does this. She goes through on a weekly basis and captures everything from that I've posted, all of my posts for that week. And they're in a gigantic Google spreadsheet where we have the link to the post, the title of or the first few lines of the post, and then likes, comments, shares. We're tracking statistics of it. What I think is really important about this is you want to look back at your posts that generated a lot of reaction and response, especially ones that converted to somebody read that post and then contacted you for a discovery call. That means sending you warm and ready prospects. Those are the tippy top of the posts. And then after that are going to be ones which got, inquiries or comments or were part of the process over time of potential clients getting interested in working with you and coming to you. So you want to track that. And as I said, I have a giant spreadsheet of this stuff. However you track it is fine. Just make sure that you have that all in a place where you can access those posts. Here's why. Repurpose, reuse, recycle. You want to take those posts, rotate them. If you have a really well-performing post, then you can shoot that as a video and use it again. You can turn that thing into an infographic and use it again. You can pull out some one-liners and make memes from them and use those again. So this asset has become something that can become 5 or 10 or 50 assets. It can turn into the paid course, like the one that I mentioned to you. It can turn into the program that you're going to use when you go into work with your clients. So your IP, it can be developed this way. Like you can do a series of posts, and then again, I always talk about this as like you reveal it to yourself. Like maybe you're doing this all the time, and then you write it down. But a lot of times I'm developing ideas as I'm writing my content. So it's not that it's a new idea to me. It's maybe I'm writing it for the first time, or I'm articulating it in a new way. And then I'll discover things along the way. And I know you will too. So this is a reason to have a content creating habit where you're constantly doing this. So you're constantly bringing that information out of yourself. So you can reuse it in all kinds of forms. You can turn it into a speech that you give somewhere. You can, obviously these things can become a book someday. It was famous back in the day that people would take a blog and write blog to book, and they would go that way. You can easily do that with freebies, compiling some posts and turning them into freebies. You can theme them and make all kinds of things from them. So you cannot do that while they are inside your head, which is why bringing them out of yourself and then turning them into a thing makes them an asset. I think one of the main reasons that consultants struggle to create content is, well, by the way, it's hard. It can be hard to write. It can be hard to make time for it. It can be hard to pull this out of yourself. And it can really be hard to be consistent about posting to your social channels with new content on an ongoing basis. It's a lot of work. And I've had plenty of people come to me and say, listen, I feel like it's a full-time job for me putting this in here. It is a chore, and you can turn that chore into value for yourself. So the more you do it, I promise, the easier it gets and the less time that it takes. And also look at the upside of getting this stuff out of yourself. Organic posts become assets, and those assets will bring value into your business, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of value if you are using this with your clients, if it is bringing IP through you into your conscious mind that you can then sell to your clients. It can be really big. And that, my friends, is one of the most insightful things that I ever heard. And you can hear that I'm really thinking about it to this day. I'm really thinking about what it really means for our content, our IP, our ideas, our, just like a little doodle that you might do and share. Like that becomes something that is valuable and is resellable in your business. I hope you'll be thinking about that as well. Until next time, until next season, I am wishing you a profitable and joyful consulting business. Thanks for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to get video updates. Thanks.